Another thing that they do with steel is mortar line it. And 10-inch and up, it's a pretty common practice anymore. Put a layer of mortar on the inside and the outside of the pipe. Very similar to the mortar in the wall here. Just like the grout you put in between the bricks here in this building. Just a fine mortar, they spray it on the inside and trowel it so it's smooth. It gives a relatively slick surface, and the characteristic chemical reaction between the mortar and the steel neutralizes the rusting process. So you can get at least 50-year life out of that mortar process. And also you get a slicker inner surface than you would with steel.
They don't coat the mortar?
No, the mortar is not coated. It's simply screeded. No, they smooth it with a trowel. And there's a lot of different processes on how that's done. But the smaller pipe, they literally just pull a cone through it, and the cone's on spring hinges, and it just screeds it out. They just drag it right through. They spray, rotary sprayer goes through the pipe, and then that cone just comes right behind it and makes it smooth. It's a troweling process. The bigger diameter pipe, you get into the really large pipe, you know, the 2-foot and bigger type stuff. They have a machine that walks through the pipe, and they'll spray it, and it's a circular spray, spraying the mortar in, and then they come back, and it's an automatic troweler. This is a trowel that's going around in a spiral motion as it comes down the pipe. It's very, very effective. They do the inside and outside, because the outside corrodes if it gets wet from the outside, so you have to protect it as well. And so we're seeing a lot of existing pipe that's been in the field for 15, 20, 25 years that's starting to go bad. They can literally go in, cut a hole in the pipe. A lot of the large main lines down here in these large farms where they have 10-inch and bigger pipe that's steel, they can go in and clean it. They drag what they call a pig through the pipes, like a giant scrub brush, and rips all the rust off as best as it can. And then they flush water through it to clean out the rust, and then they come right in and put that mortar on. And of course the mortar's wet, so they don't have to worry about drying the pipe out. It needs to be in a moist environment to cure. And so then they come in and they just spray it on internally right in the pipe. And the bigger diameter, the guys are actually down in a little cart underground in that pipe, help spraying it on and screeting it off. But, and they've done just miles and miles and miles of rehab of existing old steel main line with the mortar lining. And it really, really is economically efficient. Now, pressure's any pressure we want. You know, if you wanted 2,000 psi, you could do it. Irrigation, it's seldom we ever get more than 200 to 250 psi. So we never have to worry about too high a pressure with steel. Capacity, if we want 10,000 gallons a minute, no problem. If we want 50,000 gallons a minute, no problem. We want 100,000 gallons a minute, no problem. We can do it with steel. It's pretty unlimiting. Here's the bugaboo, but this new mortar process on that bigger pipe has pretty much changed the game as far as big steel and corrosion. It's stopping that corrosion from happening. Guaranteed at least 50-year life now. Pretty good life. Most systems become obsolete within 50 years. Next kind of pipe, aluminum. Well, we're in medium pressure now. Low to medium, up to about 150 psi or 120 psi. We'll just stay safe with 120. And this is a piece of aluminum pipe. This happens to be 3-inch. It could be used for a main line. More likely would be a hand line. just a piece of scrap, but you can see very lightweight. That's one of its advantages. It's very portable. So that becomes some of the good things: lightweight, portable. It has to be above ground. You cannot bury aluminum. It cannot resist the corrosion of the minerals that are in the ground in most cases. So it will rot through very rapidly if you bury it. Plus its wall strength is not very good because it's very thin-walled. It's light and it's thin-walled, and if you bury it and then try to drive over it, it's pretty easy to crush if you bury it shallow. You could bury it deeper and make sure that didn't happen. But again, the mineralization of the soil is going to attack the outer pipe and eat through it in pretty rapid order. In fact, they've had to come up with a special alloy of aluminum to resist the kind of corrosion that exists in the world of irrigation. Because we're laying it out across fields and we're pumping chemicals through it, and there's also chemicals on the ground, different fertilizers, different herbicides, different insecticides that have potential corrosive characteristics. And so that pipe has to be flush clean, but also it's sitting right on the ground where those chemicals are going to be adhering to the pipe as well. So we have to be concerned about corrosion from the inside and also from the outside. Plus whatever minerals happen to be in the ground. Every soil type is going to have a little different pH, a little different mineral characteristic, and so on. And certain minerals are going to attack and oxidize aluminum.